Welcome to the Time and Beat Speed podcast, and I'm here with a lovely guest, Holly, who is a master astrologer. She also has a background in psychology and neuro-linguistic programming and is certified in past life progression and hypnotherapy. She's also a specialist in dreams, and she has been doing Western astrology for over 25 years, and now she has decided to go onto sidereal astrology and focus solely on her astrological readings based on sidereal. It's an amazing talk I had with her. She's a wonderful and lovely lady. Hope you
Whether
guys
you're
enjoy the show.
successful or not, or whether you're talented or not. And then, so I could get someone there as close as a few sessions, just a few sessions, as long as they're willing to practice and do work around it, and then just continue the practice after that. I have a course going up on my new website, Intuition 101, and they use that course and they'll be able to learn that as well. Now, the more Uranus is involved in the chart, I find, and Neptune, but there's got to be a strong Uranus too, because if there's too much Neptune, then the person can get really lost in their shyness and then lost in their own world around it, but they don't really want to bring it out to the public. And so there'll be a hidden gem kind of thing and only let certain people know. But if there's Uranus in there, then they don't mind being different or unique or weird or stand outside of the crowd. And I can work with that as well. If there's a predominant amount of earth in their chart, which I have a lot of as well, then there's the ability to be able to turn it into something practical, turn it into something tangible, which would be a job or a career. Right. So it really depends on what they want to do with it. But if they just want to use it in their everyday life to be able to make better decisions and navigate through choices, so they trust themselves and not trust what other people tell them to do or what a book tells them to do, just trust their own judgment. That can be done within just a couple of sessions if they're willing to work at it.
Interesting. Do you believe astrology is, first of all, do you think this world that we live in, do you think, because I know you talk about these things on your TikTok and stuff like that, and it's a lot of them, they're very interesting, and I agree with a lot of what you say, but do you believe like this world that we live in is like a design? So is it a simulation that some people claim it to be? Or is it just, this Big Bang theory and everything occurred naturally from this Big Bang? And what does that mean for astrology if it is a simulation or a Big Bang? If it's a simulation, did someone design it? Someone make it like this so we could maybe learn how to navigate through life with these little big indications? Or is this a natural occurrence? I mean, because
nature versus nurture.
basically, I mean, in a bigger way, to be honest, nature versus nurture. So I mean,
it's a Dorian. I understand what you're saying, and how weird do you want me to get? Because I could get really.
No, I'm probably with you, but I'm just like Go ahead.
Yeah. So I do follow a lot of scientific thought leaders like Greg Braden and a lot of Graham Hancock, and they do a lot of practical scientific research on where we come from, and that there is no doubt in my mind that aliens or people like us from other planets inhabit this world that we live in, this global massive amount of universes and galaxies that we live in. And that's already scientifically proven. Kepler's already in another galaxy, and they've just recently found a magnetic field around some other planets that could indicate that they're inhabited like we are, because we have our North Pole, South Pole magnetic field. I do believe that there is this composition of yin and yang, or evil and good in all of the universe. It's an energy. It's not actually people. You decide what energy you want to take in, what you want to utilize, what you want to breathe in and exhale that energy. And I do believe that there are entities out there that are good, evil. There are some people that think one has to take over the other. I don't believe in that. I believe it has to be an even amount, just like a yin and a yang. We need the good, we need the evil, we need the positive, we need the negative. You know, electricity doesn't even work. A battery doesn't even work without its negative and positive parts of it. So nothing else works either. It's the same thing even with our cells within our body. We have negative and positive charges within our own body, within our own cellular system. So we are an entire galaxy. It's anybody in the medical field knows how complicated our bodies are and how they work well with each other. And it creates this whole running being. So the entire galaxy is the same way as well. I do believe this is going to be real much my Mars Libra answer is a little bit of both. I do believe we are simulated somewhat, because I believe that the entities out there that are bigger than we are, they're more powerful than we are, that may have created us on this planet, because they've already proven that we have Greg Braden talks about this, that we have a cell, a half of a chromosome more or different than what our primates have, which they say we have descended from. And I always had a problem with that, because I'm like, if we descended from them, why aren't they still turning into humans as time moves on, right? It never made any sense to me. Why aren't the fish turning into salamanders and turning into
we don't see
things
none of
still?
that.
It shouldn't
You know?
stop, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're saying that this was implanted in Neanderthals at one time. And then that created us. Like, so we're a hybrid, right, of these alien and human or human form type. So I believe that we're like their babies, we're like their children, we're like their people here, and they want us to succeed. They want us to be healthy and happy and use this earth the way it was originally given to us. It was here to house us, feed us, medically support us. We have everything on the planet that we need if somebody knows how to use it. We were separated by countries, by continents at one time. So there would be healing attributes in one country and not in another. There would be food attributes in one country and not in another. And the idea was one day we would migrate and learn to connect with each other and support each other and become even more powerful in keeping ourselves healthy and having more sustainable living, and also nice, more diversity of foods and more diversity of religion. But it went all wrong. Because the evil came in, it started taking over, and it started programming us so that we wouldn't get that powerful, so that we wouldn't get that strong and that knowledgeable, so that we would depend on them for our aspirin, for our cures of cancer, for our surgeries and operations and everything else, and curing ourselves through all these natural abilities that are out there. And it doesn't mean that they wouldn't have figured out even a way to manipulate some of our natural resources to help heal us even stronger. But it got taken over by the evil part. So that's the programming part, or the simulation. So now it's become the simulation, and we're being programmed, and we're being kind of moved around like pawns in order to keep us from becoming powerful. And at the end of the day, we've always got that power. It's always there. And I know we'll get it back eventually. We're in our sixth existence, right? Or seventh existence, depends whether you believe in Atlantis or not. And that's already proven. We have had we've destroyed ourselves 5 times as a race, and some even think the big flood was one of them.
Definitely
right?
was.
So,
definitely was.
The simulation, I was actually looking this up the other day. When you have a simulated program on the computer, that's a game.
Yes.
Like a gaming, how do you break it? That's what I was looking at. How do you break it?
What, break the simulation?
Right. So it no longer runs anymore.
What do you mean? As in the game stops running?
Yeah, if it was a game, how would you break it?
Break the game as in complete the game. Is
that
what you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it exists. Like my husband plays the game WoW, or he used to, and there's never ending. I mean, this WoW game's been going on for like 20 years or something like this, right? It's not ending.
Well, I think it's just on a continuous, like any game you play, it just they may create new things for the game for you to now try and succeed, especially on these online type of games. You know, they'll create something new for you to achieve, so you feel like, you know, there's something to do, but ultimately you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
You are. Exactly. That's a great answer. That's exactly it. And then you just go and purchase the new edition of the game so that you can use all of its new. So that's the situation. So we either have to become not interested in the game anymore, stop playing, or the game, or it gets destroyed.
Yeah. You know, I feel like this
computer breaks down. It's got too much information.
I feel like this is 100% a simulation for me, personally. And I believe, you know, in the 12 laws of the universe in terms of energy and everything like that. And, you know, everything around us is energy. And, you know, we're here just manipulating energy or being manipulated by energy, either. And I feel like this simulation is here to, like, maybe gain something from us, from our energy. Whatever the simulation is, it gains from our energy. Maybe just whoever is the creator or creators, or those beings who are beyond our even mental understanding, are there just to collect data or information or energy, whatever, from how we behave and respond. But I believe, like you said, like a game, when you compare it, I believe, like, let's say when someone creates a game, they give the whole game many different things that you can do within that game. And, you know, there's cheat codes in that game. There's other things you can do in the game which no one else can do if you know how to do it. And I believe, like, you know, astrology, you know, you're basically, you being a clairvoyant is a cheat code. And some people have different abilities to do X and different abilities to do Y. And I feel like honestly, I feel like we all have different. The game is about how can you manipulate energy, I believe. And like what you're saying, when we talk about astrology, when me and you do astrology, you do it to a supreme level. There is no doubt. But when we do that, I believe all we're doing is we're actually manipulating the energy to give to somebody to make someone's path easier and better. When you get these visions and things that come into your mind, again, it's your vibration, your frequency, your energy that allows this to come in. And the key, I think, is obviously humanity getting to that level where, you know, like you said, we all have the capabilities and abilities, but at the same time, there is this yin yang thing, this opposition energy. And I think the more good there is, the more bad there is. I think it's never, I don't know how you feel about this, but I don't feel like it's ever all good or all bad. I think it's never just evil or just good. I feel like they coexist.
It's a constant push and pull.
Yeah, it's constant, and I think when we accept that that's the reality of it, then I believe things become easier. I believe it, like you know what you were saying to me when you was like you don't feel like you live anywhere, because it's like you don't want that reality to you want to have your own reality. You want to cultivate your own energy instead of their energy cultivating what you need. And I think, like you said, when we all take that path, I think that's when I feel like we'll get to the place where we need to get in terms of humanity. But until then, I'm not sure.
And when we realize, like, individually, we have to be strong in order for the whole to become a functioning. Like, I use the idea of the body. Like, if my heart isn't strong, and my whole body is going to suffer. If my liver isn't strong, my whole body is going to suffer. If my microbiome and my gut isn't strong, my whole body is going to suffer. We still live in a world where science doesn't believe in that. If my heart's wrong, I just go to a cardiologist. If something's wrong with my thyroid, I go to an endocrinologist. They should be taken into control in part of the entire body. I actually have a naturopath, because she does take in considering the whole body part. That if something is off on my blood test, my doctor will say, like, oh, I got to put you on a certain pill to make that stop. My naturopath will go, no, I'm looking at all of your other numbers here, and this is what's causing this. So let's take care of this and then that'll take care of that. You won't need those pills.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the problem, that we're not functioning as a whole that way, because individually we're not strong. And that's why they're dividing us right now. They don't want us strong. So they're creating these unnecessary divides that are getting way out of control, because we're all trying to find our tribes, right? If I'm on this team, that's my tribe. And if I'm on that team, then that's my tribe. And
it's true.
It's kind of maddening to watch, to be honest with you. And sometimes I feel like I have to be a part of it. And other times I think, got to step away, because this is a natural, this has to happen. You know,
what do you see? What do you see with astrology happening in the next 6 months? I know you do this on your, what
at Polly Hall, actually, if anybody's interested in finding my TikTok.
I'll leave the links. I'll leave the links in
yeah, that's awesome. So in the end of May and June, I see something happening. I'm actually traveling back home during that time. I kind of put my travel dates a little earlier, about mid-May, just in case. I do see it's global. I don't see it as devastating. I do see it somewhat of a technological war, in that it will shut down air travel for a short period of time. That's my prediction around that. It is a planet Uranus, so it's extremely unpredictable. I don't know if you look at Uranus the same way, but Uranus is, you can kind of decipher if the event is negative or positive, or what house it's in. But I looked up the astrology of the US, of Canada, and of Russia. And because I saw too much Uranus happening in so many people's charts. And so something's definitely going to happen during that time. Throughout the summer, there was a prediction I just sort of deciphered not too long ago, today actually, what was going to happen throughout the summer. Now I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. Throughout the summer is where there's going to be where people are going to start mass protesting. Now that's already started, but it's going to be more like a kumbaya, what happened in the 60s.
It's going to be like not as violent, you mean, basically?
No, not as violent. It's going to be what happened in the 60s with all the music and the music
festival. it was like the hippie type, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be more like that.
More, it was spiritual, basically, kind of thing, in some ways. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot more positive. So that's going to be throughout the whole summer, specifically in places like Canada, where I'm from, and parts of the United States, parts of England as well. And because they're just going to get sick of like this tyranny, this anger, this raging in the streets and setting off fires and yelling and screaming. It's just going to get too overwhelming for everyone. And so we do the same thing in a very peaceful manner. Definitely there's going to be something happening after November. Now, part of that is not astrologically, it's because I know what's happening in England, that's coming from Canada, and the rest of the United States. It's actually going to be in the London, England area. What's it
going to be? Because I'm here.
You're here. I know. You're there. Well, a lot of people may know of it, and that this is very controversial as well, as Jordan Peterson. So Jordan Peterson is from Canada, but he is a philosopher and a thought leader, and he's very much against a lot of things that are happening. And he was traveling the world, and he started connecting with world leaders that were also passionate as he was.
Yeah, I like Jordan Peterson a lot.
Yeah, so in end of October up until November 3rd, they're having the huge convention for his new version, alternative to WEF, and they call it ARC.
Yeah,
ARC.
He's trying to bring something against them, isn't it? And and you're saying something.
An alternative. He tries to say it's not against. He tries to say it's alternative. They can self-appoint themselves. We can self-appoint another version of it. And there's apparently 2,000 leaders or experts and professionals around the world that are joining him, and they expect 20,000 people to be in the audience as well. We're going to try to be there. We're not sure. We're thinking about it.
Great, amazing.
That's going to change that's going to create a huge divide. Every time, so a lot of people freak out about these divides, but I get excited when I see that, because I'm like, we need this to happen. 100%. We got to keep We got to keep, and I do believe it will end up in a 50-50 split. I do believe that half the world will live in one way and the other half will live another way. And everyone who wants to have control and make all the money and do all that, they'll eventually give in and go, well, we might as well keep our eggs in this basket and control these people because it's working for us, and we'll just leave those pagans alone.
Leave us alone then, and let us be. Do you know what I mean? We're just trying to enjoy our life and just connect with people. That's all we're trying to do. You know, all this manipulation and all this, you know, influence, and it's just like life is becoming so it's so controlled. Everything is so controlled, and you know, you're not allowed to express your feelings, you're not allowed to express your emotions unless if it goes against whoever's in control, basically, which is, it's sad. It never used to be like that. It always used to be about freedom of speech and everything like that. But they've taken it to the point where it's not freedom of speech whatsoever. It's just do as I say.
Because the more control we got, the more they wanted to take away from us. It was pretty controlled. Like before the birth control pill, there was a lot of control over the family dynamic and what women did before women could vote in the 1930s. There was a lot of control around the oppression of women. There was a lot of control around the oppression of all types of lower end ethnic groups and cultures were oppressed as well. Some are more popular, known historically than others, but it's always gone on. And even in the Caesar days, you know, shortly during Christ and after Christ, however you believe in that, there was a lot of control where the people up in the mountains in their castles had a lot of control. The churches had a lot of control as well. They were the government. They were your medical professionals. They were everything.
They were everything. They tried. They're the one who made astrology look like, you know, for witches and demons.
That's what I was you just segued into it. That's what I was going to say. Until the 1800s, astrology, you had to take it if you wanted to be a philosopher or medical, or you wanted to go into politics or science. You had to take astrology. It was a part of it, and then they took it away. The church took it away
completely, and they've hidden that from history as well, which is all kings and queens and sultans, and they all used it. It was normal, and you know, it was a privilege to go and see your astrologer and for him or her to give you what you need. And now it's coming back. It's not demonized now, to be honest, but it's coming back. But do you think, like, you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there? I don't know how you feel, but sometimes it doesn't annoy me because I believe everyone should, you know, do what they feel is right for them, and you know, that's fine by me. But at the same time, I feel the misinformation is just, I don't know, it's a bit frustrating. Do you think like there should be some sort of, they probably shouldn't be parameters with astrology because it's a self-expression at the end of the day, but how do you feel about them? Or do you feel like there isn't any misinformation? Do you believe that everybody's opinion is their opinion regardless of how they interpret astrology?
That's a great question, because I do believe that 50 or a good percentage of people have literally been born here to become the controlled opposition. And I don't like that word when they talk about politics, because people use that word too much, just like they use narcissism too much. But I do believe souls were born to be the opposite on purpose in order to show, look at the problem we have. I'm going to highlight the problem because I'm going to be the biggest a-hole in the world. And I'm going to be that person. And we don't want to believe that. We don't want to believe that maybe Anthony Fauci, or we don't want to believe that Trump, or we don't want to believe that maybe even if you don't like Jordan Peterson is a person that's kind of pointing out the evil that's in the world. But they have come on purpose to create a balance again. So we are going to get really frustrated if we can take a look at the whole picture that, hey, this problem, they're not the problem. They're only highlighting the problem that already exists. It's already there. So you can sit there and go, I agree or disagree. You can go on these opposing sides to argue with each other about whether this person is good or evil or not. But why don't we just take a look at what they represent, the whole big picture that they represent, which is control, you know, that somehow we're being controlled and manipulated to start arguing with each other. We lose, like anybody knows that's been in a long-term relationship, that when you continue to argue or you become very combative amongst each other, you start to lose the original meaning of why you started the disagreement in the first place. And next thing you're arguing about how much dishes you do and how much garbage you take out. And that's not even the whole point at the end of the day, why you started the argument. And so you can completely destroy the relationship because you can't stay on point of what the outcome is that you want. And that is happening. We've got, a lot of planets, well, depending on which way you look at it. But in the last 2 months, we've had a lot of planets in Aries and Gemini. Now they're moving into Pisces. Some people will see it a little bit different, but either way, we've got this energy of, and I warned about this two months ago, that the gossip is going to get out of control. And people don't realize what gossip is. When you see something on social media and you don't back it up by facts and you just share it all over the place and make it viral, you just gossiped. Big time, like massive, because you don't even know if it's true. You haven't even researched it. And it's no different than in high school. If somebody says, oh my God, did you hear that Holly and so-and-so, they broke up because she cheated on him? And they're like, oh, did you hear Holly? Did you hear Holly? Did you hear Holly? And next thing you know, I'm not even broken up with this guy. I didn't cheat on him. But now the whole school thinks that that's what happened because somebody didn't check the facts. Somebody didn't come to me and ask me if it was true first.
Exactly.
And now I can't, how do I tear this down? I can't. Unless I stand up to the whole school and announce it. And even then, they're still going to believe in what they want to believe in, their narrative, because people love gossip because it connects them with each other, right?
Exactly.
Telling each other a secret. Now we're connected.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you don't have a desire to connect, but you have a desire to make sure that somebody doesn't get unduly harmed or hurt, then you will find out what the truth is. And that's honestly, that's when I was in grade school, that was my biggest thing, gossip and bullies. I would call them out constantly. What you're doing is wrong. Why are you saying that? That's not true. I was the biggest nerd because of that. And so I can see your point, why you're aggravated about it, because that is everybody's pet peeve right now. And they don't know what the truth is, and they don't know who to believe anymore. And some of it is getting really, really carried away. The big thing that's going on right now is it's getting infiltrated into other areas that it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be there at all. But that's so people are arguing against each other that has nothing to do with the original point of the problem. And that's going to continue. And for the rest of the year, we're going to be in this finding out. And the other thing is that we got this God mentality that some superior being is supposed to protect us and take care of us, like your government, like a doctor,
if we're not accountable, we're not accountable for our own actions. Generally, I think we don't want the responsibility of the truth, not just the truth. I think of our health, what's going on in the world, what's happening to your kids. We blame the teachers, we blame the government, we blame the doctors, we blame the next door neighbor. We're all in control of our own destiny. And even within astrology, sometimes people want to come to you for a reading for you to solve all of their issues. And it's like you need to be accountable. I'm going to give you the information and the direction and the map to take you to where you need to go, but I can't take you. You have to take yourself. And I think sometimes, you can, obviously there is different techniques of doing X, Y, and Z with people, but I just think people aren't as accountable as they used to be, or maybe this society, this world has created people so that they are reliant on external factors instead of their own source of power. Do you know what I mean? But
and that's by design.
Yeah, of course. It's not accidental. It's not accidental. No chance. All of what's happening now has been designed precisely to take us where we are now. It is not an accident whatsoever. And when people think about this and that's happening, I'm like, you need to go back to see what's really happened. And when you go back to how they did this and how they managed to incorporate X and incorporate Y, then the answer is more clear. But some people, they don't want to. But it's their life and it's their choice. At the end of the day, you can't blame anyone. But obviously, you was doing Western astrology for over 20 years, which is topical for some people. and now you're doing sidereal. I mean, obviously I do Western. Why the big change? I mean, is Western wrong? Is Western astrology just wrong? Is it not accurate? Am I just
It's a lie.
wrong?
It's a big lie. Like
A big lie? Is it misinformation? Am I being misinformed? Is there
slightly
two?
misinformed. Yeah.
Is there like two? Because obviously there's a lot of misinformation in generally, and they do it basically so there is no answer to maybe destroy the whole aspect of astrology. You know how they influence many things, not just the world and governments. They can infiltrate what they want, and maybe sidereal or Western is the infiltration to be the misleading of astrology to break it down so people have oppositions and clashes and arguments so that no one really wins. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but why do you believe more in sidereal than Western astrology? Just that alone. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's a few answers to those several questions, and one is, astrology, the mathematical part of astrology was designed 2,000 years ago, even less with the Kepler one, with the calculations of it. And the Earth is on an axis, so it's got a bit of a wobble to it as well. And we're about 24 degrees behind our view of the galaxies than we were 2,000 years ago. Slowly, I think it's like one every 100 years, a few hundred years, something like that. And so it's shifted. And about a year ago or so, I got this app on my phone called SIDEREAL. You can get one on the computer as well. And I would use the app and I'd look up the sky and I see where Moon is and Mars and Venus is. And I'd be like, wait a minute. It says this. No, it's not. Astrology says you're in Virgo and this says you're something else. So I got really excited. I threw the app out. I was like, you're all wrong, And then I started noticing a few clients saying that I was accurate, but I was off about a week or so. Like it happened exactly what you said happened, but it happened a month ago. It wouldn't be much more than that. It would be about that much. And that bothered me because I still got Virgo in my chart, even though my Western is Virgo and my sidereal is Leo, still got Virgo in there. And so that Virgo side was going, I got to perfect this. What's wrong with this? And so that was kept in the back of my head. Then I accidentally found this other astrologer on YouTube who was talking about sidereal. So I got very curious about it and started watching it. If you look at, there are several astrological clocks that are made in the world that were designed in the 1400s, 1300s, somewhere in Italy, but the one that's still working, that's very famous, that was reconstructed and still working, is in Prague. And it's sidereal astrology. They'll even say it. If you research it, it's sidereal astrology. It's looking at the stars exactly where it's at. NASA will look at the constellations exactly where they are according to the ecliptical. So everything in Western is accurate. Like I still got Saturn up against my moon, conjunct my moon. I still got this planet opposite that planet. I still got stuff in my first house and my second house, and my sixth house, I think, moved into my seventh a bit. But I still have all of those angles. The chart, basically, if you take the Vedic or the sidereal and you overlay it, you'll see all the angles and aspects are exactly the same. The planetary connection to the constellations has shifted 24 degrees backwards, because the planets move in an opposite direction of the constellation. So instead of being 9 degrees Virgo, I'm now, I can't remember, but something like 15 degrees or something like that. 11 degrees actually, I think I am. No, 15 degrees Leo. But a lot of the things are similar. Like I still got Virgo in my chart, still got Libra in my chart, like I did before. And it's just much more accurate.
That must have been quite tough, though. Obviously, to accept, because obviously you must have heard it quite a lot throughout your lifetime, and then to actually make that transition after all this belief. Did you then start to question everything you used to do? Do you question everything you used to do? Do you think that? Because
I knew that everything else that I did around, you got anger management issues because you got Uranus opposed Mars. You've had issues with your father that alienated you because you've got the sun square Neptune. All of those things were still true. And I look at all of that. When I first start doing readings with my clients, I first start out the very first time you have a reading with me, I start off about 10 minutes just talking about you and your childhood and all the players in your childhood, including your mother, your father, your siblings. And I use the aspects around that. Now, someone could say to me, using Western astrology, you're sensitive to criticism, to me, which means that you're really excellent at problem solving, but you don't really appreciate somebody problem solving for you in a constructive criticism way unless you ask for it, unless it's a dialogue of yours. Now, that's a strong Virgo, and that would be accurate. Now that I'm a Leo, that's not as accurate for Leo, but I still have Virgo in my chart. My Mercury is still in Virgo. And Mercury Virgo, which Mercury owns Virgo.
Yeah, big time.
An extremely analytical place to be.
Yeah. I mean, that's,
I can't escape it, even in
when you said
SIDEREAL.
Mercury Virgo, I'm like, I'm not gonna challenge you. Do you know what I mean? Because Western, I'm Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, so it's like similar, but I know Virgo stronger. Because it's exalted in Mercury. But yeah, I mean, I still find, me personally, I find it like interesting that I still find most of astrology accurate in terms of Western. But when you obviously, I had free readings previously in SIDEREAL just to really find out what it's really about. And I have to say it's all accurate. But obviously, when you did mine, yours was completely accurate. Basically completely accurate.
I just say it adds another layer.
But I think because the way you do the aspects, I think it's really, really good. How you decipher that, to be honest. And I think it's really good how you do that. But I still, like you said, feel like you said, most of them would be still in the same place regardless, Western or not. So or SIDEREAL. So I think I don't know. I'm personally not convinced, but I'm not saying that I don't doubt it. I'm not saying that it's wrong and that it's inaccurate. I can't, because I've not found any inaccuracies. But
even though, like, I'm looking at your chart, and even in SIDEREAL, you're still strong Gemini. Your Mercury's still in Gemini. Your sun is now in Gemini. I don't know if it was in Gemini before. Let me look at the you're still very strong Gemini. Yours didn't really move much. In fact, you got a whole stellium with your Chiron in Gemini.
I know.
You got 5 planets, if you consider Chiron a planet, in Gemini.
So is my Mars still in the second house or the third house in SIDEREAL?
It's in the second house.
Okay,
barely.
Yeah.
Barely.
It's
this one is wider.
Yeah. I mean,
it's in Aquarius.
I've obviously, it's Pisces in Western, and it's interesting, obviously, for it's funny that because obviously I do have the passion for like spiritual stuff and stuff like that, but I do also, I'm very rebellious. But I don't know if obviously about the deacons and stuff, and my deacon is ruled in Western is Uranus, which is again Aquarius type rebellion, original type.
Teach me some stuff on that. I know about that. I learned it, but I never used it as part of my practice.
Well, it's like you have the deacons. It's like you have the first deacon, which is the first 10 degrees of the first 10 degrees of the chart of the sign, which is the actual original. They say it's the more original part, the actual true. Like if you're a Gemini and in that first 10 degrees, first 10 days, whatever you want to say, it is you are actually more quintessential Gemini, and I do come across those types of people when they are like that. And then you've got the middle part, which is more fixated. It's more of a fixated type of Gemini, which is myself, more stubborn, more a little bit more argumentative, a little bit more fixed in the way they behave and stuff. And then you've got the last 10, which is, again, I forget the planet which is ruled by. I don't know. I can't remember the individual planets which all the deacons are ruled by, but they all have planets ruled by them. And then that's less so of Gemini, and it's more changeable, mutable, more relaxed, and less of the like in your face type Gemini like the first two. which the first one is always ruled by the ruling planet of the sign. So the first decan is of Gemini is Mercury. The first decan of Taurus is Venus, etc., etc. So, you know, I mean, I do believe, I do connect with, you know, Uranus type energy, because I've always been this original type of person, and, you know, this is quite shocking and quite do my own thing and independent type of Gemini, compared to most of the other Geminis I know, which I know most of them are in the first 10, which are just, you know, proper righteous. Gemini. Yeah, righteous, fun-loving, you know, out there, like very type, yeah, funny, expressive type of Geminis that, you know, you just know they're Geminis. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there is something. I do believe there is something behind it.
In SIDEREAL, they don't have exact 30-30-30.
Yeah, and yeah,
because the constellations are different sizes.
Yeah. But you know, like when you said that, I was thinking, you know, like the houses, for example, like when you do someone's like chart, the houses aren't the same. Most of them aren't the same size. So I was thinking, like, isn't that represented in the house, or if they are, and also you have, so sometimes, for example, let me think of a sign. Sometimes Libra or Scorpio starts on the 22nd or the 23rd. So different, depending on the year, it changes. So isn't that then also represented in the terms of the size of the sign within that change of the start and the finish? So I don't know. I'm open to all, to be honest. But I like I said,
you know what, you stick with what works for you, because it's just a conduit for you to have the rest of your gifts and your talents come out. I mean, you're the archetype of the teacher. You got really strong archetype of the teacher in past lives. So you just want to educate people. You want to teach people. You want to guide them through communication and talking and conversation. And when you look at, you know, even though Mars and SIDEREAL is in Aquarius, it's still sextile your Neptune. Very strong connection with your Neptune. So it's still very Neptunian. That's how I look at it as well. So amazing. It's still there strong. It's still a component of yours. Okay. But see, if your Mars, now that your Mars is in Aquarius and a lot of your planets are in Gemini, now that's all trines or disconnected, where when it was in Neptune, it was a square.
Yeah.
And when it was in Pisces, it was a square.
But yeah.
That's not.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take that one.
I'll take that
if
one.
It was a Neptune, if it was a square, you may not have put yourself out there. You'd have even more massive abandonment issues. And you just want to hide in the bushes somewhere and not really communicate with anyone, because for fear of being wrong, for fear of being incorrect. But you got a kite, right? You got a grand trine with that. So you got that kite combination there. And that doesn't matter what planet it is or what sign it's in. You got a kite. And that's with Chiron, which means you purposely came here to gift and help the you already got a strong masculine feminine energy. You're very balanced in your masculine and feminine energy because of Chiron's between your sun and your moon. And you have no problem communicating that because of all that Gemini in your chart. The only part is that I would say, according to your chart, is it can get really lonely because you don't have enough people. This is a distinct language. It's like you're living in England and you only speak Italian and everybody else speaks English. And it's like you can't speak to anybody because nobody knows your language and you have no desire to learn English. Right? So it's lonely for you not. That's why it's good that you're starting this podcast, because now you can have the conversations that you want to have in real life that you can't.
It's interesting because like there was a point for a long period where the way I would communicate would not be aligned to me. I would be aligned to others, but now, especially in the last 2 years, I've only focused on like specific communication. I can have little chit chat or whatever, but the things I really want to talk about, the things I really want to say, if I'm not in line with you, and that I won't even, I can talk, but people can even tell I'm not really that much interested, and that's also why I know that a change of environment is key for myself personally. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, the way you calculate the aspects, I'm sure you used to do that with Western as well. I think, like, for me, my like, I understand aspects completely. But again, I don't use them a lot when I'm breaking down a chart. I use them more in terms of compatibility and relationships more so. Obviously, you can see all the planets in the 7th house. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'm just amazed that you went from 20 years and then to change. But it obviously must be for a reason. No, it must be for a reason. It has to be,
Yeah.
And you studied linguistics is in psychology. I'm imagining. So you're very good with the communication. There's no doubt about it. How well do you believe that has given you for your business and for your career and everything like that?
I think it is timely. Sorry to interrupt.
That's right.
And I'm going to do it anyways. People say sorry to interrupt, but you're going to do it anyway. So why are you sorry? If I didn't do Western all this long, I wouldn't have been relatable to my clients. They'd be like, what? I'm not a Virgo. I'm not a Pisces. What are you talking about? I can't have you as my astrologer. And some people do know all their sun signs and their ascendants and everything else. So I don't think I would have built up my business as strong as I did if I didn't do it the way everybody else did it at first.
I see. And how many clients do you generally deal with?
I do about 60 a month. 60 or more if you look at my emailed readings as well. So 50 to 60 plus my emailed ones, because I do a lot of mini ones where people can just email me and I'll send them off a recording of whatever their question is or what they want to know about or who they want to know about. So that's about my average. I'm happy with that.
So what's your ultimate goal in astrology and in life? Or maybe they're probably the same thing. What you feel like you're here to do? What's your purpose? And
Thank you for asking me that, because I have to remind myself of that every day when I get sucked into mainstream desires of how I want people to act around me and the people I want to have around me and whatnot. So I just think every time I hit a real big wall in my own personal life, or my environment, I think I remind myself, this is not what you're here to do, Holly. This is not what you're here to do. The reason you're hitting these walls is because you're not supposed to get sucked into the mainstream desire of life. You're supposed to be helping people. That's all that's all you're here to do. And I'm here to help people find who they are so that they can discover what they're here to do, because we all have a mission. We've all been put here on a mission. And so this is the best way for me I'm really big on metaphors. My clients know that, and I love it. And they just come to me. So this one's just coming to me right now. Although I've used similar metaphors before. If you're in grade 1, you're supposed to learn how to start to read in grade 1. If by grade 2, you haven't learned the basic grade 1s of reading, they're going to try to catch you up. And by grade 6, if you still haven't learned the fundamentals of reading of grade 4, you're going to keep still trying to catch up. Now, that might be your problem, your own disability, or it may be the problem of the school system, which is probably most likely, and it's that disability. But either way, sooner or later, you got to catch up to have the basic fundamentals of learning to read and write so that you can function in the world somewhat. And so I look at every single grade as every single lifetime. So if you've come here in a lifetime, let's call it grade 1, and you were here to do something specifically and you got side railed and you didn't do it, you're going to come back and you're going to learn what you needed to do in that one. Plus, you have to catch up with what your original mission was. And you're going to have to do this over and over and over again until you successfully reach that mission, whatever that might be. And so that you're a functioning part of the whole, the collective of the whole. Yeah. And as you said earlier, that does contribute to the larger collective, which I call the pool. You're a drop in the big ocean, and the ocean needs all the drops. And and the drops need the ocean. So it's extremely important that you learn these things so that it contributes to the whole. So my job is to help people find what that is as fast as possible through their relationships, through their job losses, through their relationship with their children, through their health issues, through their childhood experiences that they have. Eventually, my desire is to get them to get to know who they really are and why they're here and what their specific gifts are, and to help them find the things that they want to have through that, right? You want to have the best love of your life. Let's take a look at all of these other components so that you will find and have that best love of your life. Or is there something else you're supposed to be focusing on and you're too focused on the desire of lust?
That's it.
Right? Everything comes down to that desire. And that has to be my mission. I've done this before. I've been an astrologer in other lifetimes. There's no doubt. I've got proof of it as well for someone with strong Virgo Mercury in her chart. I have to have that proof. So I did have an experience that did show me that I had that that I've been that in a past life. And it was that this is what's really interesting, if I may add. The experience I had around 25, and I learned that I was an East Indian sage, an astrologer. I saw myself very, very old, and it was a Ouija board, which I would never do, but I did it because I didn't want people not to like me. They pulled it out, and they didn't even know I was an astrologer because I was just new at it and didn't tell people much. And this Ouija board spelled out a very long name that looked like it was a city of some sort. And so they brought out back then this big giant atlas, and sure enough, this big like 15-letter name was a city in India, at the bottom of India. And then that's when I got the picture of what she looked like and that she was an astrologer and all of that. And so I can't make this up, that this big giant name, like letter for letter, I couldn't say it. So all my life being a Western astrologer, I was like, why don't I get Vedic astrology? Why can't I connect to the square astrology with the triangle? I just can't connect to it. It was driving me crazy. And then all of a sudden, I find sidereal astrology, which isn't exactly like Vedic because it doesn't use the squares and the different Rahu and K2 and all that stuff. It actually uses Western language, astrology language, but with that more of an Eastern flair. So now I found myself again, my old sage version of an astrologer again. But I hope I answered your question. I think that's all I'm here to do, is to help as many people as I possibly can. Oh, and another goal would be that, I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but maybe I can be a part of it. I would like doctors, therapists, counselors, teachers to use astrologers to understand their patients, their students.
It would change the game. It would change the entire.
Speed everything up.
It would change everything. Or they don't know nothing when they start to analyze, assess this and that. I'm like, only if they knew astrology, they would know how to heal someone very quickly. They'll understand someone's mental issues, psychological, physical. You know what I mean? It's all there. It's all within astrology. Everything is there, and it's just being completely ignored for reasons that I'm not aware of. But that is a great purpose, and both of those purposes are amazing. And you've been an amazing guest, and you've been honest and open. You know, maybe you are Leo. You just talk from the heart. And so, you know, it's been amazing talking to you. And
thank you, Stuart. It was great. You were a great host.
I hope I can continue talking to you because you know a lot, and I would love to learn from someone like yourself. But thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye.
See ya.